Hey everyone, welcome to another session, and we are back with another contender profile for the Australian Open 2023. And this time we are doing none other than the 9-time champion. It won't be wrong to say he's the king of Rod Laver Arena, Novak Djokovic. So before we get on to with the content, please like and subscribe. Your support means a lot, and you guys are absolutely amazing. Okay, so Novak Djokovic. Let's put into perspective first his dominance at the Australian Open. One of he has to be one of those unstoppable forces in men's tennis and since the Open era in the history of the game. What he's done in this event is beyond incredible. 9 titles, has a 91% win-loss record overall, has won 9 of those finals in straight sets, 3 of those finals, and his head-to-head against his two biggest rivals, Roger and Rafa, 4-1 against Federer, and his only loss coming in 2007 when Novak was obviously an up-and-coming player and not at the same level. And 4 of those wins are two of those wins are straight set victories, which is amazing to do against Federer. And Rafa, he has faced him 2 times. Their first one was 2012 Classics, nearly 6 hours, probably the toughest match of Djokovic's career. He somehow pulled it out and won it 7-5 in the fifth. The second time around, though, 2019, both players came into the final playing amazing tennis, and we're expecting something similar, but Novak just absolutely brushed Rafa aside and scored a super dominant win. So 2-love against Rafa in this event. And apart from Australian Open, we all know what a juggernaut he is at on hard courts, and his numbers are just absolutely staggering. 84.5% career win loss record on the hard courts, which is superior to Federer's 83.5%. It's mind blowing. Someone from this era went on to have a better win loss percentage than Federer, who just looked untouchable when he was in his heyday, and it's just amazing. Now, let's talk about how the frame of mind, the form Novak brings into this Open, and how his potential path could look like to victory, and really what are some of the potential limitations his opponents can exploit in his game, and what are some of the things that he is doing better than ever. Right, I'm not going to go into a shot by shot analysis really and only touch him on specifics because we all know how good he is on the court, and so I'll only touch him on specific points. Form wise, he comes in with a lot of confidence. He is probably hungrier than ever, and his passion for the game, as admirable as it is, it's scary how much he still wants to win, and he comes in with a lot of emotional baggage. Let's not forget that. Rewind 12 months, and he was banned from playing the event. A very emotional moment for him. A lot, obviously, negative emotions, being sent back from Australia, and it's really, really impressive how he still kept his head in the game and just won so much when given the chance. Went on to win Wimbledon, playing amazing. Couldn't play at the Open, had an incredible run at the French Open, and really he's absolutely breezed through the indoor hardcore season, with one exception that was his loss to Holger Rune. But yeah, amazing overall. Looks supremely confident and has started the year, unsurprisingly, with a title in Adelaide. Defeated Medvedev fairly comfortably, and Sebastian Korda gave him a very, very tough time. And we can talk about that a little bit more. But he still showed the confidence and courage in important moments. Somehow won that match again, and really, there was the highlight of the match, goes without saying, was when he had to save a match point with a difficult overhead smash, and it was an overhead which he had to directly make contact with, and he ended up moving backwards inside out. And I can imagine a lot of Djokovic fans were thinking, no, the ball's in the air and it's going to be a Djoko smash, dunked into the net, and that's the match gone. But no, wasn't the case. He pulled that off. I think no one can really tell how his emotional side is going to play on his mind. Maybe he'll be more motivated than ever to win again, but there's a lot of emotional baggage that he brings with him when he enters the court again. And he even practiced last year on these courts, but was not allowed to play when he was when his case was being heard in the court. The guy actually came to do some practice sessions and still had to go back, and it was must have been quite difficult. And I think um, how the crowd behaves, etc. You never know how even a mental giant can Novak Djokovic will react. Don't forget US Open 21, where he actually had loads of support from the crowd as a change. And a lot was on the line for him, a calendar slam, but he seemed to struggle to cope with that. He became really emotional. You saw tears coming from his eyes, and Medvedev just absolutely dominated that match in 3 sets. So it's impossible to tell really how it's going to play on his mind, but I think he should be okay. It's Australian Open and it's Novak Djokovic. Let's get into his game. So one thing that really, really impressed me about Novak is his serve. His first serve, I think it's better than ever. It's so precise. He can get the pace comfortably above 200. He's got all the variation. He's got the kick serve working quite nicely. And it's really is. It's so clutch now. It is so clutch. And it has to be one of the best serves in the game right now for someone that wins so much. And it's one of my favorite serves personally. I think he's doing what Federer did a lot in his career, with the serve being so clutch. So he's very dangerous with his serving now. And apart from that, I would say his backhand slice. It used to be such a liability, and he was just reacting with that shot, just defending and not really sure what to do with that shot. But it looks aesthetically much better and technically better, and you can see the impact of the shot now. Djokovic is so clear how he wants to use that shot. He used that against Korda to change the rhythm of the match. He really knows how to change the pace, the rhythm of the rallies with his backhand slice now, and he just has more options now. And with the confidence he has, he's used that to improve his net game. His volleying is tremendous now. Full credit to Goran for making him improve that side so much. I'm sure he has a role here. And really, Novak's all court game is the best I've ever seen as it stands now, and it is scary. Um, his net game, his slice and serve to me are the most improved areas. But yeah, I think if his mind is in the right state, um, all know he's so good from the baseline. It's impossible to really contest against him being the favorite, right? You have to put him as the overwhelming favorite for the Open. There will be challenges. There are players who can potentially beat him, and you never know how the first week can go. You play some loose matches, and maybe his recovery power might not be the same. Interestingly, his match against Medvedev at the World Tour Finals, he was struggling physically in that match after long rallies and trying. So maybe age is catching up to him a little bit as far as his recovery power is concerned, but we never know. He just put in extra work in the off season, and there's a bit of a concern with his hamstring in the match against Medvedev. Um, he's downplayed it a little bit, but he did miss a practice this week. So who knows? That might act up a little bit, but he's managed injuries far more serious injuries than this. With a broken, he won with a torn muscle in 2021. So yeah, it's Novak really. He's a physical specimen like you've never seen before, probably at least in recent times. So yeah, he's out there to win. We all know how good he is, but if you were to raise the question, what are the weaknesses in his game and what are the limitations that people can really use. And some people say he's perfect, right? And he does not have a weakness in his game. I would genuinely agree with that, but of course there are some relative weak areas in the game where some players can exploit. That doesn't mean it's a weakness, but some areas that can be exploited. Um, his overhead being one of the things, really. The Joko smash. He recently hit a really funny one in his practice setting his Medvedev, so you never know when those can come up. Um, so it's if you look at the players who have given him some trouble at the Australian Open, Stan Wawrinka probably is the one who has played him the best here. He's played to him 3 5 setters, won one, lost twice. But his brand of tennis, by the way, we have a very, very interesting video on Stan's success against Djokovic in slams. And that video will be released pretty soon. So do tune into that one as well. But yeah, I would say the Stan's brand of tennis, he gets rid and the ability to generate so much firepower from both the forehand and the backhand with consistency and having a good serve. Not many players have have those strengths, right? Dominic Thiem comes to mind, and he could defend from the backhand slice when pulled wide. So could Wawrinka, and you could see Thiem when he was really playing his top-notch tennis. He took Djokovic to 5 sets in the 2020 final, and it was a really close match again. So, and not many players though have that firepower from both wings, which Wawrinka and Thiem had. So, really, you need that to be able to do that consistently over 5 sets against Novak, and even then, it's no guarantee, right? Novak's, like I said, he's evolving, he's improving, and he's making improvements in his game all the time. So, it's still not an easy task by any means, even if you have those weapons. So, Rafa, 2012. He hasn't beaten Novak in a long time on hard courts, but 2012 Australian Open, he played Novak, obviously, uh, a very, very close match against him. And that match obviously deserves a separate video analysis of its own, but some patterns have worked well for Rafa, for example. Rafa was slicing his backhand down the line, being a lefty, and that was coming straight to Novak's backhand. Deep balls, there were floaters, not a lot on them, and Novak was sometimes struggling to put those away, and he was hitting cross court to Rafa's forehand, and Rafa was waiting to unleash with his forehand down the line. And if you notice, if you watch that match again, you'll see Rafa trying to use this pattern successfully in that match. So Novak sometimes can't punish backhand slices as hard as much as someone like Rafa can or Dominic Thiem could. So players who can generate huge amounts of spin. So Novak can sometimes give you slightly attackable balls, but it takes a lot to be able to deliver on those. And um, his match against Sebastian Korda. What was about Korda that was causing him trouble? Briefly, not many players like, and I mentioned Wawrinka and Thiem there. Not many players can match Djokovic in that backhand to backhand, right hand when righty to righty exchanges. And only few players can do that. They don't have either the firepower or the consistency or the weight on the shots. Korda really was onto the chart in that match. I mean, goodness, he was just ripping the cover of the ball in that match with his backhand crosscourt, and Novak felt overpowered in that department, and he had to change things up. He was trying to change direction on the ball. He was trying to hit slices to change the rhythm, and it was too good from Korda. And the moment he gave Korda a slightly short ball, Korda had an incredible backhand down the line to utilize the open court. Going back to Wawrinka and Thiem, both of them have huge backhand down the line. So that's a must. You can't really just engage in cross court to cross court rallies and hope to win them. Novak's not going to let you do that. So you've got to sooner or later pull the down the line backhand trigger, and not many players can do that. Andy Murray, perhaps as well, when he was in his heyday, was doing it well on occasions as well. But and Korda's kick serve, not many players can, because obviously Korda is very tall, And that on the ad court, a slow kick serve that kicks really high. Novak was having trouble with that. So there's a kick serve players hit which has some pace on it, and that obviously is maybe for someone like Novak who stands a bit close to the baseline, easier to return. But Korda somehow was getting that a deadly trajectory on that kick serve. It was coming in with loads of kick and getting so high, literally Novak's head. And Novak was trying to stay in the baseline to hit it, and he ended up landing inside the baseline and not getting a meaningful contact on occasion and trying to get it cross court deep. Korda was standing there with his backhand and was using his backhand down the line. And Novak almost broke his racket on occasion, frustrated with that return. So it clearly was working against him, that pattern. The outright kicker on the ad court, and then the down the line backhand winner, backhand pattern. So some areas, potential areas that players are going to exploit, and but yeah, it's really hard to see someone doing that over 5 sets against Novak as long as he's physically fit. You look at his draw at the Open, I think he has a really good draw. He could be up against Pablo Carreño Busta in the fourth round, who's given him some trouble in the past, really. And Novak seems to have some bad luck as well. He was defaulted from the Australian Open playing PCB. And PCB, I think, because he has a really flat backhand, he can engage in those cross-court backhand-to-backhand rallies, and he he can stand with Novak in that baseline rallies pretty well. So but really the concern for him could be the quarterfinal Kyrgios or Holger Rune. But yeah, you have to put Novak as the favorite. Holger Rune beat him last year, lots of firepower. Kyrgios, we all know the weapons he has. He might get the crowd behind him. So who knows? Those matches could be really interesting. But Novak has to be the overwhelming favorite. And what a moment it would be for him. His 10th Australian Open title, and he would tie Rafa at 22 Grand Slams. And who knows, depending on how other players do, he might as well become world number one with this title. So exciting times ahead, and let's see if someone can really challenge Novak Djokovic here. Can Rafa defend his title? Probably the first time it would be a defense of a hardcore Grand Slam title for him. So let's see. I'm quite excited, and I hope you are too. It is a goodbye until the next time, and we'll be doing another one of these profile videos pretty soon.